Look at how much shade comes in here. It's October. It's past the mid-October. We're at the end of October. And it is chilly up here when the weather's damp and cold in the mornings and gets cold in the nights. I've got lots of shade that comes in on this area. And that's because my oak trees have not lost their foliage. We haven't been getting a lot of foliage coloring this year, probably because of those 2 large extended periods of drought that we had. But if there has been one big sign of success, it has been our strawberry patch. And I am so pleased with our productivity with the strawberries. Now that the garden work has slowed down, I've been working on these items that still remain in the garden. So there's the strawberries, and what I've been doing is peeling back the bird netting. Didn't catch any birds besides that one in the spring. This is where the okra had been, so I had kept it weeded because that was the last food productivity item that I had going on. But mainly leaving the weeds for Richard to take into the ground, and I have been coming in here very gingerly and tenderly working to weed the strawberries. So I've been considering garden design, watching videos, trying to educate myself on actually, gosh, I don't know how you say it. I guess I'm starting with the fundamentals of garden design. And symmetry is one of those items that I've been trying to express with the strawberries. If you remember in a previous video at the start of the season, how the strawberries were 2 lines. Well, all year I was putting the strawberries into the center and kind of making it like a row. But looking back on those videos, I really kind of like that symmetry attempt, and I may or may not, time pending, I may or may not get to do something a little more structured with the strawberries. I have been going over here to these runners that have really jumped the line and have rebelled. As I'm pulling the weeds, I'm getting those and filling in the holes in this row. But as I'm looking at it, I've been considering making this a little more, putting some more symmetry into this idea. Whenever we're plowing this apple tree here in the center, the roots have expanded. The tree is growing, which is good. The tree's growing, roots are growing as well, and the roots are going wherever the last bits of those branches are. A ring will be made around a tree called the drip line, where as if, the tree was an umbrella, and then you have like the circle of rain that comes down. Well, that's kind of an indicator where your roots are. And I think like the most important feeder roots are located in that drip line. So these branches have outgrown where the original row of strawberries is. And I'm thinking I'm going to bring out another row of strawberries because I have more than enough to fill up and make that some symmetry. So last year, or the beginning of this year, might have been February? I'd have to look back. At the beginning of this year, I had 2 rows. I've been debating about making 4 rows. Let me show you a peculiar thing that I have never seen before. Can you see that? It's hard. I'm putting the camera on a pole and I'm trying to focus in on this. We've got apple blossoms in October. So I looked that up. The tree is blossoming, which the bees are loving. They've been all over this tree. So this apple tree and you could tell by the trunk it is a very old apple tree. It was original to this property when we bought it. But this apple tree has been blooming. When I looked it up, I found that it's because there were stressors during the growing season. And so this tree and the other tree have gone through a lot of stress this year. Like I said, we had those 2 long extended dry spells, and the tree lived and kept foliage, and it bloomed, but it didn't put on fruit. So now it looks like, with the day length being like it is, it's trying to kick out a second spring event. But there's going to be some killing frost. I know they're not going to survive the killing frost that's coming. But isn't it beautiful? Oh, the hours spent in this position weeding the garden. It's a bittersweet kind of time. You look at all the weeds and you wish you'd been there, a week before, or you try to wonder, where did the time go? How did I not get out here sooner? But it is what it is, and I'm now doing what I can. The cooler weather has caused all these weeds and grasses to ease up on their growing. And if I look back on old films, I see that the weeds are a little better than they were last year. So this was a lawn. This was already, populated with roots and ribosomes and all kinds of things that you wouldn't want in your garden. And no matter how good the pigs rooted, and no matter how good the tilling chopped everything down, these were, some of these probably came in on the wind or on the animals, and maybe even my own boots had brought the seeds that caused all this. And it's kind of a thing that you just have to commit time to. Just this one span that's about 6 feet by 50 feet seems to be taking me about 12 hours. And, that's chopped up for over several days. But it's not only pulling the weeds. This is a very perfectionist-driven exercise where I'm trying to pull out the spiny weeds and keep them separate from just like the regular grass weeds. And also, during all this, I'm harvesting the last of the potatoes. So far, I have filled a couple of bowls already full of things that have been left into the ground here. And I'm pretty pleased with the harvest. So I can't say that this was a good thing or a bad thing. It's bad that there was a lot of weeds left over, but it's good that the potatoes have continued to grow ever since we put them in here. Now, next year, the potatoes will have to go in another spot, crop rotation. And that has to be incorporated in the design. We will see how the 2022 garden gets laid out. But in the meantime, I'm here trying to pull out as much root and ribosome and problems out of the garden as I can. So, wish me luck.